John of the Eye Patch, Chapter 7, Another Lie Told. In the morning, John waited in his room, idly flipping through pages of the Pirate Encyclopedia, until he heard his dad go downstairs for an early cup of coffee. He'll be at least 3 minutes, John thought. Enough time to sneak into his dad's room and look around for the eye patch. Or I could just ask him for it. He did say we could talk about it in the morning, John thought. But if his dad hadn't changed his mind, then John wouldn't get the eye patch back at all. A difficult decision. Enter Dad's room without permission, or ask and be told no. John glanced at the clock. He already lost 30 seconds debating with himself. Let's go, he decided. He left the room, glancing up and down the hallway, peering down the stairs to be sure that the way was clear, and then he tiptoed to his dad's door. His hand hesitated on the doorknob. I could get busted for this, he thought. He went in. His dad's room was immaculate, completely clean, paired with dressers. On one side of the room, one had a framed picture of his dad and John, the other a framed picture of just John. The collection of lotions, perfumes, and knickknacks that once decorated Mom's dresser were in a cardboard box on the ground near the closet. There was no eye patch to be seen. Maybe he has it with him, he thought. Maybe he has it with him to give it back to me, John thought. He tiptoed back down through his room, taking a lingering peek in the cardboard box full of his mom's things. There was a framed picture of his parents at their wedding and another of his mom and dad together at the beach. He heard the squeaky fourth step. Time to go. He rushed up the stairs. Restart. He heard the squeaky fourth step. Time to go. And he saw the sharkskin eye patch. It was right there. It was in the box. Dad wasn't planning on returning it at all. The seventh step creaked. John grabbed the eye patch. Not enough time to make it to the room. He's going to get caught. In a moment of panic, John did the only thing he could think of. John slipped the eye patch on. Dizziness was followed by bright, bright sunshine and the crisp Caribbean breeze. Why'd I do that? John muttered. He could have simply waited a moment and then disappeared in front of his dad, proving the eye patch was real. He took the eye patch off, just like the last time when he teleported twice in a row. He got extremely dizzy and nearly fell over on the floor in his dad's bedroom. After John caught his breath, he looked around, but he was alone. He stepped out into the hallway, closed the door to his dad's bedroom, and went downstairs. His dad walked towards the kitchen. John, good. You're awake. I wanted to continue our conversation from last night. His dad turned his back on John to grab a coffee mug from the cabinet. John prepared to pull the eye patch on and show his dad. I was afraid for your health, John, his dad said while filling the mug with coffee. I just don't want to see you hurt. Physical injuries are easy to see, but emotional injuries, John. His dad continued on, but John had already stopped listening. He put the eye patch into his pocket as his dad turned from the coffee pot. Don't want to see you hurt. His dad's words echoed in John's head. Just like Mom. If his dad knew the eye patch was real, he would agree with Mom that John couldn't use it to go back in time and help her, because he would get hurt. Maybe then the eye patch would get locked away in the office, or worse. Not being able to help his mom would be too much for John to handle, and he realized that he had to keep the eye patch hidden from his dad. It was the hardest decision of John's life. He never kept secrets from his dad. Well, I told him, and he didn't believe me. I'm gonna have to prove it to him. And you understand all of this? John's dad said, still rambling on. John nodded. Yeah, I get it, Dad. You don't want me to get hurt. No more made-up stories, John. No, no more made-up stories. John swallowed hard. That would make the sign-out sheet a lot more difficult. If he put down incorrect whereabouts, he'd be lying to his dad. Writing the truth back in time to New Providence, Nassau, he would get another lecture. Good, his dad said. John grabbed a bagel from the kitchen quickly, and while his dad went into the office, John stopped at the doorway and said, I'm behind on my summer reading. If I can get through another couple books this week, I'll get a free pizza, Dad. So I thought, I'm just going to read in my room until lunchtime. That sounds like a good use of time, John's dad said with a nod. And John cringed inside. My first lie. He wasn't going to read. He was going to go to Nassau to help his mom. Forgive me, Dad, he thought. John changed into his pirate shirt and his pants. He laced up his Converse. He stuffed the folded up picture of the treasure chest into his pocket. He teleported to New Providence, going from morning to noon in the blink of an eye. Nassau didn't seem much bigger than John's school, and he figured finding his mom would be easy as finding friends on the playground. Unfortunately, his mom was just as difficult to spot as Anne had been. Pirates were in constant motion, carrying barrels and sacks and exchanging forearm handshakes, yelling things that John didn't understand, and generally creating enough confusion that John found himself wandering in circles until a firm hand grabbed his arm. I told you to only come back at night, his mom said, and never to town, John. But Mom, I have something that will help. John pulled the picture out of the treasure chest from his pocket and he unfolded it to show her. Yes, that looks just like it, she said. But what am I supposed to do with this picture? She took the paper from him and waved it around. I thought you could show it to people, John said. This picture, John, stands out as much as you do. But I changed my clothes, Mom, he said, gesturing to his pirate outfit. Your shirt's too clean. Do you see anyone else here without stains all over their clothes? She asked. John looked around. While many of the pirates wore clothes that might have been originally white, now the clothes were all stained yellow, brown, red, and more colors. John meekly realized his mom was right and simply shook his head no. Do you see anyone else wearing Converse, John? She asked. No. John didn't even need to look to know the answer to this one. What happens if I show you some picture? Like, I showed someone this picture that you drawed. She waved the printout. Paper like this hasn't been invented yet, John. And an image this accurate of a chest? Sure, the trend is realism in painting, but this looks like a work of a master painter. Who would have folded it in half? This is the picture of a lifetime. Or who would have drawn on it with a marker, John? And what's a marker, John? John hung his head. He hadn't thought of any of this. John, like I told you yesterday, go home and stay there. I can handle this on my own. No, John said defiantly. No? He stomped his foot. No, I'm staying, Mom. I've been gone for what, 2 years? And now you forget how instructions work? You forget about listening to your mother? She arched her eyebrows. That's just it, John exclaimed. Before he told her the exact reading she needed help was because it had taken her 2 years. A burly pirate stepped next to them and said with very slow and careful enunciated English, Everything all right, young master? John's mom looked at the pirate and then back to John. Her brow furrowed and she frowned before a smile of understanding crept across her face, and she said, Yes, young master, I apologize for speaking out of turn. John wasn't sure what was happening, but he could read his mother's face enough to know that she was playing along and that he should play along with her. and he tried to imagine what someone with the title Young Master would say. The best he came up with was, My servant is new. He waggled his finger at his mother and continued, You are forgiven this time. Make the mistake again, and you'll know the punishment. His mom narrowed her eyes in anger. Good lad. As soon as the pirate said it, his eyes opened wide. Young master, I mean. No disrespect. He bowed his head. John's mother nodded her head in the direction of the pirate. John wasn't sure what the head nod meant. He looked at her with a questioning look, his eyebrows raised along with his shoulders. She nodded more vigorously at the pirate and made a small shooing gesture with his hand. John suddenly understood what she meant and said, You're dismissed. The pirate bowed several times and shuffled away. John smiled at his mother. Let's go someplace quieter. She led him away from the town center, and they went to a sandy beach. Once out of earshot of others, she said, A punishment? A servant? Her face turned red. Isn't that what masters say about people that serve them? John said. Only bad masters, his mom yelled. I couldn't have called you Mom. You could have... She stopped herself and stood up straight, looking off into the distance. He watched her count slowly under her breath. When she spoke again, it was calmer. You did well. That was quick thinking. I suppose your clothes stand out in a good way. If people mistake you for nobility, then they'll be less inclined to rob you blind. She shook her head. What am I thinking? It doesn't matter what locals think. You're going home. I won't be going home, he said. You will. Enough arguing. She grabbed the eye patch and pulled it off John's head. He closed his eyes, anticipating being pulled through the time and space. But when he opened his eyes, he was still staring at his mom. Why didn't you work? Why are you still here? She asked. Maybe it only works if I take it off. John scratched at his head. His mom grabbed him by the chin and forced him to look at her. She smiled. It's good to see both of your eyes. Now put this on and go home. John took the eye patch and pulled it on. No. John? His mom put her hands on her hips. I'm going to help you. You can't do anything to stop me. He too put his hands on his hips. What does your father think of this? She asked. He wants me to be here. John let it slip out. Another lie. This one was easier than the last. His mom studied his face before saying, He doesn't know, does he? The shake of her head filled John with guilt. He lied to his dad and his mom and had been caught by one of them. He desperately wanted to run home and confess to his dad. Before he did anything, his mom's face became stern, and he knew a lecture was coming before it even started. Disobedient and lying. What happened to you, John? There wasn't anything John could say except for the truth. I lost you, Mom. I needed you, Mom. She hugged him and then held him at arm's length and tousled his hair. I'm going to the sea soon to look for the treasure chest. Promise me you won't come back here looking for me. I'll go with you, John said. To the sea? With pirates? She laughed. You're too young for that. You said it yourself. You think I'm a noble? I could be a passenger, John explained. His mother smiled with a slanted rice look on her face. I'll make a deal with you. What's the deal? You pass the pirate tests and earn your marker, then I'll let you come with me. But if you fail the tests, she shrugged. I won't fail, but if you do, you return home and you never come back. Do you understand me? She held out a hand to shake. I pass the tests, I get to go with you. I fail, I go home. Got it. John shook her hand. No going back on this. You swore to me, John. I swear. It's a deal. And they shook hands vigorously.